So in today's video tutorial, I'm going to be using one of my vintage containers and some wire mesh to create a very rustic, simple design. So good afternoon and welcome back to another tutorial. If you haven't been here before, my name is Sharon and I have a YouTube channel full of different flower arranging and floristry videos to help you get creative with your supermarket flowers, your garden flowers, or those bought from your local florist shop. Today I've got a bit of a combination of some locally grown flowers and some commercially available flowers. And I'm going all white and green to match with my vintage container, and I'm just going to use some wire mesh to hold my flowers into place. So what I'm going to do here to start with is to use my wire mesh, just fold it over 2 or 3 times and then placed into the neck of my container. Now I could attach some floral tape across the top to hold the wire mesh into place, but I think that's compact enough in there that it isn't going to move around as I'm creating the design. And fresh water with flower food is also going to help keep my flowers nice and fresh. Now the container is one of my vintage collection. I like to collect different styles of containers from charity shops and car boot sales and that type of thing. And I have some really pretty Alstroemeria. I'm just going to show you what they look like. Now, these are commercially available Alstroemeria. These have come from the auction, but I've bought them as a second grade, so they're not the top quality Alstroemeria. They're almost like our wonky carrots and our wonky vegetables. But what I love about these is they have a bit more quirky, whimsical feel to them. They're not all straight. They're not all perfectly similar and matching to one another. Some of the heads are a little bit larger, some of them are much thinner and smaller, and you get a much more natural appearance to your floral design. Alstroemeria are one of the flowers that I don't use a great deal in tutorials because they can be quite hard to work with because the stem is very soft. But in wire mesh like this, in a very natural style, they're going to work really well. Now they are about 5 days old. I bought them in last week so that I could get them to open up before I did the tutorial video today. But because they're a second, there isn't quite the strength in the stem to hold the head up. So the heads are slightly flopping over, but I like that and I'm going to work with that in my arrangement. So I get a bit of a whimsical, quite natural feel. Now this one is quite a big size head and I'm going to aim this towards the front of the arrangement to create my lower part of the design, the base sort of section. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to work away from it. But the smaller heads, the ones with the less amount of flowers on them, are the ones that I'm going to work towards the outer edge. And some of them don't have a lot of strength in the stem and some of them are really bendy. But it's going to work in my favour because it's going to drape really nicely over the edge. Now I don't know yet what shape this design is going to be because I'm letting the Alstroemerias almost predict the ongoing shape. So I'm going to keep adding the Alstroemeria in, and at the moment it's facing you, so I'm working sort of backwards at the moment. But if an Alstroemeria is bending towards my left as I look at it, then it's going to go in the arrangement so that the main part of the flower is facing forward on the left hand side, and if I've got a flower that's head is more facing towards the right or looks more attractive on the right, then that's where it's going to go in the arrangement. But I'm making a larger concentration of the open flowers towards the base, and then my softer flowers and the little bit of greenery that I've got can work towards the outside edge. Now this one is definitely draping in that sort of position there, so that's how I'm going to use it. You might find that as you let your Alstroemeria mature more and the heads start to open, you might get this effect from supermarket ones. But I've intentionally bought what we would call a second grade, because I knew there was going to be less strength in the stem and that they would hopefully cascade forward a bit more naturally and a bit more organically. So if we look at this now from the side, then everything at the moment is facing forward. We don't have any material here towards the back, but I've got greenery to add, and I've got a little soft filler flower, which you might be familiar with. So I'm not too worried about getting my Alstroemeria at the back. What I am going to do is just arrange them so that there's a pretty display. And if we go to this side here, I've got a lot of green stem showing. So I'm going to use this final Alstroemeria just to tuck in there in that gap. So I'm hiding a little bit of that very severe green stem. We don't do that all the time. Sometimes we let the green stem speak for itself, but today I want to hide it just a little fraction. Now it's naturally taken on a bit of an asymmetric shape. It's shorter this side and it's taller that side. So I think I will work with that. I will go asymmetric and make it a bit taller on one side. And I'm going to introduce a much softer material. So this one is commonly known as Queen Anne's lace, and I'm going to take a little bit of time just again to look at the stem. This shape on this side works much better for me on the left hand side of the arrangement as I place it in, and by thinning it out means it's going to sit more comfortably on that side, and then I can bring a shorter piece in more towards the front, just weaving it in between the Alstroemeria, and it's going to be really well supported by that wire mesh. Because I've got several layers of the wire mesh, I know it's going to hold and support my flowers really well. So what we're going to do is extend this side slightly taller above the size of the arrangement on that side. And if I look at this flower head here, it's really quite heavy with that main large flower. So just by thinning it out there, that gives me an opportunity to soften the end. So as the design gradually fades away into the distance, it gets smaller as we go away from the main focal point towards the center. And then this larger piece I'm going to place towards the middle, and that is going to help bring some colour through to the back. It's going to give me some depth there at the back, and it's going to bring that colour and texture through there as well. So let's just have a look at it from this position. So it's definitely asymmetrical. We've gone much taller on this side, and I'm going to add in just a bit of softness over on this side here. Now if you are arranging in wire mesh and it's the first sort of time you've done it, try and remember to leave your stems a little bit longer, because you don't have the bulk weight of the floral foam. You've got to get your flower stems right the way down into the bottom of your container for them to be able to take up water. And because I'm used to working with foam, I do have a tendency sometimes to cut them a little bit short. So I'm going to extend the length of the arrangement on the slightly longer side. So we're looking at more of a vintage style of arrangement where we haven't got that really clear outline shape like a triangle or a circle, but it's very soft, very whimsical, and really quite fashionable at the moment. And then with a larger head again, I'm going to pop that in towards the back. It's going to bring a softness and a lightness to the back of the arrangement, and almost straight away I've covered the back and I haven't got to worry too much, like you do when you've got floral foam, about adding lots of material in towards the back. Now my foliage that I've got to work with today is a garden foliage, and it's quite a light wispy greenery. This one is Spirea, or you might know it as Bridal Crown, and I've chosen it because it's nice and wispy. Lovely tall piece there, which is going to come in on my longer side. And I don't want anything too heavy. I don't want anything that's going to make the design look too heavy and too full. I want to continue with that real soft feel. Very pretty and very simple. Now, if you don't have Alstroemeria, just think about using maybe one flower to create this sort of compact look at the front. Peonies would work really well. You wouldn't need to have quite as many heads as I've got today, but they would make a real visual impact there at the front. Okay, so that's really nicely done. I'm quite pleased with that. So if we think about the greenery I've added, I've only got it on the sides of the arrangement to create some height and some width. So I'm going to thread some through the middle, remembering nice long stems, and it's going to bring me a nice contrast, nice bit of texture there in the front, but without overfilling it and making it too heavy and too bulky in the front. One of the beauties, of course, of arranging with the wire mesh is that you can move your flowers around if they're not sitting in quite the right position. But isn't that fab? So now if we look at it from the side, it has much more of a profile. It has a front and a back. We've got a slightly taller position on this side and a bit shorter on that side. But in this type of arrangement, you've almost got to let it speak for itself. Right, what flower am I bringing over here, you might be asking? This is corncockle. This is something that you can grow quite happily in the garden if you want to have that natural sort of wildflower meadow style section in your garden. And normally it has a purple flower on it. I'll just show you this one here. So it would have a little purple flower on it. I use it a lot when we're doing wildflower weddings, and I want to create that really rustic look. But I'm going to use it today just for the shape of the head, because it's going to introduce another texture, a different flower shape head, and it's going to help me extend the design out a little bit on the sides, but without making it too heavy. So if you added a greenery in on the outside, it's going to make the design a little bit heavy. Now I don't want the centre purple section because I don't have any purples in this arrangement, but the bud itself is so pretty. Most of, we had this in on the weekend for a weekend wedding, and the majority of the purple little flowers have already died. But isn't that a lovely textured material to work with? This is going to help extend the sides, and I'm not going to use a great deal of it. I really wanted it just to help me create that soft, very whimsical look, almost like flowers from the Georgian period where they would have been arranged in flower bricks and natural mechanics. A couple more pieces just through to the front, and you can see what I think is a really pretty sort of whimsical design. Now I'm thinking I just need a small amount of the Army Majors or the Queen Anne's lace here in the front section, just to break up the very heavy concentration of those Alstroemeria. And I don't think I'm going to add any more in. I really wanted to create a very rustic, vintage sort of style. It's a little long, and I think I've achieved that with a very minimal selection of flowers. So this design sometimes is harder to create than a design that has a clear outline shape like a triangle, because you're so used to being able to arranging flowers in geometric shapes. But look at the flowers, look at the way they grow and the way that they've developed in their natural habitat, and arrange them following that same pattern. So I hope you like that one. That's quite a quick, simple video for today using one colour type and a very minimal selection of flowers. So thank you very much for watching. As ever, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell if you want to be told every time I upload a new video. Like and comment, share with your friends, and please comment in the box below, because it's lovely to have feedback of the different types of designs and to understand what you really like to watch. So bye for now, and we'll see you very soon.